what to wear, what to take, and what the heck to do on race day. Woodsy Workout here with another video on how to prep for a race or competition. These are the do's and don'ts of race day. So as London Hyrox is in just a couple days, I'm gearing this video towards how to prepare for a Hyrox, but a lot of the factors that I'll talk about will apply to any fitness competition or physical test. I'm not going to go over like the final training sessions, as it's kind of a bit late for that now, but I'll make another video on how to taper for a competition. So if you are interested in that, it'll be coming out shortly. Today we're strictly talking things that will influence you on the day. And number one is gear. So clothes, shoes, sweatbands, socks should all be tried and tested before race day. I know you always want to wear all new gear, especially for the day, but if you haven't worked out in it at least once, then I'd say you're safer going for gear that you're familiar with, because small things like tight shorts or shoes that rub can be a real Achilles heel in a long workout that doesn't have any stops. And then the other thing is the temperature. It gets hot in there. There's a lot of people working out in an indoor space, so even if there is aircon, these places they do get really hot, probably hotter than the gym that you've been training in or working out in. So thin shorts, light top, maybe a sweatband is ideal. So that's gear. The only other thing I'd say is chalk. Chalk is always an option to bring. They do provide chalk like in a chalk bucket before the rope pull and the farmer carries, but you can always take your own, and that might save you a little bit of time. Next is nutrition and supplements. So what you eat and when you eat it will depend on what time you're going to be racing at. The key is eating foods that you're familiar with. So don't take or eat anything that you haven't already tried. Just eat a decent meal of protein, carbohydrates and fats the night before. Maybe a little more carb heavy than normal. But yeah, then just make sure you're well hydrated the day before and the morning of. So I also like to add some electrolytes to my water. The sodium and potassium helps with the water intake, but if you don't have these, you can just add a little bit more salt to your food, or Himalayan pink salt in your water is great. As you get closer to your event, take out proteins and fats because they slow down your digestion. So you can have complex carbohydrates a few hours before, and then something light, simple carbs and sugars just before the race. So say my start time was like midday. The night before I could have like chicken thighs and rice, and then some porridge or overnight oats first thing in the morning, say like 7 or 8. Then a couple hours before I would have like dried fruit or a cereal bar, maybe a Lucozade, some light sugars that will help keep your glycogen stores topped up but won't make you feel heavy. The other thing to consider are gels and caffeine. Now caffeine is a tricky one. It can help your performance, but you can overdo it, and if it makes your heart rate hard to control during the race, then it could be a negative. So if you are sensitive, only take a small dose or not at all. Remember, on the day you should have enough adrenaline and all the everything you need to get you pumped up. So I would take a little less than you would before a training session. And the other thing is caffeine takes around an hour to have like a full effect. So this will depend somewhat on whether you're taking it on an empty stomach, but think the race is like an hour plus. So you probably want it to kick in midway through. So I take it around 20 minutes before I start. And I just take like a caffeine tablet. I think I've got these. So I take pure caffeine tablet and a Lucozade sport, so I know how much I'm taking, and I'm not drinking something that's fizzy and it's going to upset my stomach. And then we've got gels. Gels are not essential. They're normally used for like longer endurance events, but the level of intensity you're working at could merit topping up your glycogen stores midway with a gel. This can be difficult if you are on the go, so I choose to take it just after the road where my heart rate's kind of at its lowest and I still have the back half to complete. Again, just like with the food, if you're not familiar with taking gels, I would caution using them because the benefit that they will provide could be outweighed by a decrease in performance if they make you feel sick. So I don't have a massive experience with gels. I take this one here, it's like High Five Energy Gel Aqua. It's like a little bit more liquidy than some of the thicker ones that are like sometimes quite you need to drink water with. So I'm safe. I've tried this one knowing that I can just take that and I don't need to drink water as well. So that works for me. But again, it's marginal. It might help. But yeah. So now let's talk about what to actually do when you get there. So with Hyrox, when you arrive at the venue, you check in, you get your timer chip, and then you go into the arena. Your first port of call, in my opinion, is just to scope out the place, familiarize yourself with the layout. Unless you're like first to go, there'll already be people racing. So get as close as you can to each of the stations within the spectator area. And watch how they come in and out. If you haven't already watched the technical briefing video, so they email you that a few days before, definitely go over that. That'll have the specifics. And the key thing is to know how many laps to do around. So it varies depending on the location. I know that London 2022 in April is 2 laps. So the race is very well organized. The stations are numbered and they have volunteers and guides. So you're always going to go in the right direction. So don't worry if you are a little baffled by it all. I've never had to wait for a piece of equipment during the race, so you should be able to go straight into it. So once you've checked out the area, your second point of call is find the warm-up zone. So this is like a small section where you can get your hands actually on the equipment that they use before the race, which is definitely worth doing, as things like the carpet under the sled or the ropes might feel different to what you've used in the gym. Now, this is one area that you may have to take turns on depending on how busy it is. So allow yourself plenty of time to get your hands on the gear before actually going through your warm-up. For your warm-up, you could do like a body weight movement series, or you might be able to get onto one of the bikes or runners that they have. For your warm-up, I'd say it's good to get a bit of a sweat on. A lot of people worry that they'll wear themselves out, but if you leave a few minutes for your heart rate to come back down, you shouldn't be pre-fatigued, and you will be good to go, firing all cylinders for when your time comes up. So I think that's pretty much it. If you liked this, give me a heads up and I'll keep making more of them. And if there's anything that I missed or you have further questions, just let me know in the comments. I have done a whole video on racing strategy, so be sure to check that out. And if you are racing in London this weekend, then I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully I might see you out there. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.